Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
What is up, my fans? How y'all doing? Dave Scott here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. And thank you so much for tuning us in as we are getting into everything from cursed horses, paranormal, supernatural, horrifying cryptids, aliens, and everything. The man from Night Terrors podcast and YouTube channel, Bill Madon, is here tonight. And yes, he does have a nice shirt and tie combination going for this show. Dirty Fylth is here with the art of the night, and you know you'll love his cartoon. And all of you so far showing up in our chat room, let's say hello to all of you. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position, Brown Dwarf taking home the silver, D. Cohen, a nice bronze medal. Yep, Kathy Evans, strange and unusual. How you doing? Rui from Portugal, John Hinoyosa, thank you for coming on in. Lisa C. and Shiro, thank you for joining us. We very much appreciate it. And let's move on here and say hello to Dirty Fylth. Sir Grizz is here. Sir Grizz will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Who else we got? We got W. David Page. Good to see you. Millennium, Mama Susan, how are you? Thanks for coming on in. Hi, Nikki in Seattle and Studio 42. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby is here. He has arrived, and we can officially start the show. Donna C., how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Ozzy, oi, oi to you. Asimov, Hip Hop Spec Ops, how are you? Hip Hop will be signing autographs after the show as well. Light up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Judy of Gall and Xochitl Paez Richards. I miss Paez, Xochitl. I'm not going to lie. I miss it. It just rolled off the tongue nicer. Xochitl Richards is here, and yeah, she's newly married, so we got to use some new last name now. Moro, how are you? Awesome, man. B. Starting on defense, number 26 in your program, from Luleå, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Evan Walters, we haven't even started the show yet, but you're pissing me off because your kids are still awake. Linda Thompson, looking lovely tonight. How are you? Hi, Pixie Lara. Hi, iVoices. Welcome to SOR Chat. And Chillgasm, good to see you. And Eric Martin, thank you for joining us. My buddy is at that game in Montreal, by the way. Robin McRae, how are you? We love you. And John Swan, how you doing, buddy? Bombshell Bomber, good to see you. And Love V Love, thank you for coming on in. And who else? T2E, you're early by 1 minute and 25 seconds. You're early. I don't know what to do now. Like, do we just start the show now? I don't know. Cat Chaser, thank you so much for kicking off the super chat tonight. That's why you are the awesome Cat Chaser. And thank you for your love. Cat Chaser kicking off the super chat. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much, Cat Chaser, for your dedication and love to Spaced Out Radio. There we go. We got that before Bill WD-40 gets in there. And who else do we have coming on in? Dr. Steers. How are paging Dr. Steers? Dr. Steers, paging Dr. Steers. Welcome to the show, my friend. And I hope you have a good night. We still got to get you on the show, by the way. We have to. just one of those things we need to do. You know what? If you could, I know we're Facebook friends now. Could you send me your email? That would be great. That way we can chat, and your phone number too. Digger Dog, nice to have you here. And River Dogma, thanks for coming on out. Yeah, the Ducks already beating the hell out of the Canucks. We're number 32. We're number 32. Crystal, how are you? Thank you for joining us. And Midwest Night Watchers. Hey, I got your name right. Look at that. Look at that. Tonight's going to be a good night. And tonight's going to be a good night. There's Bill WD-40 over in Spreaker. He's lubing us up for tonight's show, so that way it goes smoothly. Lubing. I know you laugh every time I say that, Bill WD-40. I know you do. The super chat once again is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show. Hi, Dave Rice. Hi, Dutch UFO. How are you? And our store is open on our website where you can get some incredibly awesome swag. And you know what? It's that time. Horns up. Let's rock. Of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're going to have a great show for you tonight from the Night Terrors podcast and YouTube channel. Bill Madon is here hanging on out with us, talking all things weird and strange. Then in hour number 3, we're going to head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey. Super Duke comes in for the Cryptid Report. It's Dave 101 night, and Shirky Poo has the news. For the last 6 years, Bill Madon has been the host of the ever-popular Night Terrors podcast and YouTube channel, where he talks about the strange and supernatural stories that literally haunt us all. With his deep-sounding voice and ever-present necktie, Bill delves into some of the darkest encounters and stories that have happened on this planet. There is no subject he will not touch. Why? Because these mysteries are what keeps many of us going, and Bill's curiosity going as well. We say hello. Bill Madon, thank you for joining us on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you? I forgot to unmute. How professional are you there, right? Yeah. Bill, it's so good to have you here, and we appreciate you taking the time. You know, your show is very popular with Night Terrors podcast and YouTube channel. How did you get started with this?
Well, I started out as a lark. I made 2 or 3 spooky videos. It just so happened that the third one went semi-viral. It was about the woman from a parallel universe, Lorena Garcia.
And tell us her story.
Well, I was one of the first people to cover the story. And she woke up. She was on a different bed. She had different pajamas on. She went outside. She couldn't find her car. When she got to work, there was another man in her office, working in her office. It turns out she was working in a different branch of the business altogether. She went to see a doctor. They told her she wasn't crazy, and they told her she wasn't on drugs or alcohol. And no big changes for her, but lots of little changes to show that she was not from Earth originally.
I always thought with that story, and now that you mentioned that story, I do recall hearing that a few years ago, where everything in her life had changed. I mean, she didn't dress the same. You mentioned that she missed out on the same job. I believe in her previous life she was married or had a husband, but there was someone different now, and I mean, could it be that maybe it's not that she wasn't from here, but she wasn't from here via maybe some sort of portal, or she jumped timelines into a different timeline somehow.
Right, she called it the jump. Uh, she had broken up with her boyfriend and was going out with a new guy. Uh, and when she tried to visit the new guy and his son, there was someone else living in the house. And then when she got home, she checked her closet, and it turns out her boyfriend was still living in.
Oh, that is just, it's so weird. And it really does show when you hear stories like that how weird and strange life can be. What attracted you to these weird and strange stories? Were you always kind of curious, or was it something, Bill, for you that you just got captivated like many of us do?
I've always been into horror. Uh, I would sneak out at night, not out of the house, just out of my bedroom to go watch the horror flicks on the the three TV networks we had back then.
Oh yeah, and where was that?
Uh, Near Lake George, New York.
Oh wow. Wow. So for you, as you started to develop and look into a lot of these stories, for you, how did you, from day one of when you started Night Terrors to now, what has changed in you in the way you look at all of these subjects?
Well, there's just an insurmountable supply. I've never thought that I would run out of topics because there's just so many out there. Of course, I have learned the staples, the Nephilim, and others.
Okay, so how do you how do you go about choosing your topics?
About 50% of them are viewer suggestions. Another 40% are my own ideas, and 10% are from my research of my competitors, honestly.
We all have to do that. We all have to. Let's be honest. We all are checking on what everybody else is doing. But for you, though, how much do you enjoy doing this and looking into these topics? Because, you know, I don't know about you, but I easily get dragged down rabbit holes. Are you the same way?
Oh, absolutely. But there's nothing more enjoyable than being dragged down a good hole.
True, on many different ways, but for you, as you kind of look into your own stories and your own investigations, do you think there is, like, life is one giant conspiracy, or that there is a bunch of secrets going on that we have become way too naive about?
Absolutely.
Explain.
Well, I don't like to get into the uh, like my own opinion of which conspiracies I believe in and which I don't. But it's like I believe in like you might call it a reporter's sense of not revealing, who you're going to vote for in the election. Let's say.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So for you, the way you kind of take these, tell us how, give us some detail on how you try and research one of these stories. Like, how do you, like, from the, let's say I'm an audience member and I come up to you and you say, "Hey, have you ever heard of such and such, the ghost train of Saskatchewan," or something along those lines? How would you start your investigation?
Well, what I do, and you can actually watch the process on Twitch. I do the show preparation on Twitch Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. Uh, and for my 2 hour live show, I cut it up into 8 segments, for which I need 8 readings and 8, let's say, public domain or Creative Commons or sometimes fair use videos. So I'll do a reading, on one aspect of the topic, and then I'll show a short video, and that'll be one 15-minute segment. I do 8 of those, and that's 2 hours.
Wow. That's a busy, busy push.
Oh, yeah.
Very busy push. When you started getting into this and delving into this more, okay, and delving into these topics, did you ever think that it would consume you? You know, like I know with this show doing it 5 days a week, I'm all consumed. And there are times where, because we bounce on so many different topics on a nightly basis that I you have to know a little about a lot. And the a lot that you're missing or giving up is sometimes detrimental to what you do. For you, how do you stay in tune?
I was never really afraid of being consumed. I'm still not fearful of that. What really scares me is ASMR. It's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me.
Really? I kind of some of it I don't mind. Some of it I don't mind. You know, you have like looking at your YouTube channel, you have taken so many topics that are go right throughout history, from predictions to aliens and ghosts to curses and everything. What do you love? Do you have a favorite topic?
My favorite is probably not one of the more popular topics. I really enjoy vampires.
How come?
Uh, I guess it's all wrapped up in uh, control and sex and all those dark motivations. Just fascinates me.
Well, you literally have hundreds of videos on your channel, and I'm scrolling through a number of them. And I'm just going to pick one where we can start tonight. And let's go into some big detail about this, because one of the topics that really doesn't get enough play up here in Canada, we've talked about it, but it almost seems impossible to try and get somebody to discuss what's happening, is the beheadings up in the Nahanni Valley in the Northwest Territories. Now, there are lots of rumors about what's going on there, whether it's a lost First Nations tribes, whether it's Sasquatch, whether it's some sort of other mystic cryptid that is doing this, whether it's headhunters, whether it's wild people who said to hell with society, this is our area. First off, break it down for our audience what the Nahanni Valley legend is all about.
Well, this is a super remote area in Canada that no one's lived in for a long time. They say the last Indian tribe left before 1900, let's say. But they also could be one of the people that are still hanging around there. People have gone there and found gold, but they don't usually have too much luck bringing it out of there.
Why does that place seem so violent, where prospectors and researchers alike have ended up found decapitated?
Yeah, it's so weird that the first few casualties, which are unrelated to each other, were all decapitations, and you'll have people missing as well, of course. But yeah, a lot of headless men thrown in there.
So what do you think's going on there?
I think personally, maybe it might be survivors of the Indian tribe, but there's also the cryptid hunters have a good point there as well. It might be a cryptid.
For me, in looking at it, the way I look at this is there's I don't know if you heard the one story out of there about there was a group that was given 1 hour to investigate in there,
No, I
and
haven't
their
heard that one.
helicopter pilot came in, dropped them off, pulled up, circled around, saw something in the forest, came right back down and grabbed them and said, "We got to get out of here." When the crew or the people who were on the ground said, "What's going on? We got an hour in here." He's like, "It isn't safe. We need to get you out of here right now."
Wow.
And there was never any talk of whether it was cryptids or something, but he saw some things moving in the bush. Now, I don't know whether that's just part of the legend or whether that's actual truth. But it's really weird because in Canada, we can find stories about anything. The hard part is trying to find people to talk about it. And there just really isn't a lot of people who want to discuss this. When you were doing this story, did you ever look into why people don't want to discuss this topic?
No, no, I did not.
I hmm, it just blows my mind. Blows my mind, this story. Okay, let's move on here. Um let's go to one that I'm not so familiar with, but just learned about earlier this year. You've done 2 shows, or 3 shows, pardon me, recently on the Denver airport in Denver, Colorado. What makes this airport so conspiratorial?
Yeah, there's a lot of things about the Denver airport. It's, I think, the second biggest airport in the world, the largest U.S. airport. Uh, when they started, building the place, the first buildings that they built, they said they built them wrong, so they had to bury them. But they buried the first 4 or 5 buildings that they built. The dedication capstone uh, has a Masonic symbol on it, and the names of lodge leaders on it as well. Uh, and it says it was dedicated by the One World Airport Commission, which is an organization that doesn't actually exist. They have lots of art exhibits, permanent art exhibits at the Denver airport, one of which is supposed to predict the coming apocalypse. There's supposed to be tunnels underneath, which are either for the higher echelons in case of nuclear war, or they may be the lair of the lizard men beneath the Denver airport. And then, of course, you have Lucifer, which you see on the road into the airport.
I saw Lucifer earlier this year, and apparently it is cursed from the
Lucifer
artist.
being, I'm sorry, Dave, Lucifer being a combination of blue and Lucifer. It's a blue uh, fiberglass statue whose first victim was its sculptor. When it was nearly done, a part of the sculptor, some say the head, fell on the sculptor himself, severed the femoral artery in his leg, and he was not too long for this world, unfortunately. His sons were able to finish the project, though, luckily.
Now, why do people call this Lucifer cursed?
As I said, it did kill its own sculptor. The sons were able to finish it. It has red neon eyes, which inspired the original sculptor because his father used to own a neon shop.
There have been reports that other people have died there as well upon approaching it. Have you ever heard about that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's just part of the rumor or part of the legend or lore about that entire junction there, but there does seem to be a lot of real interesting murals and stereotypes that go along with it. Why do we want to believe that this airport of all places is literally, you know, an apocalyptic uh area to scatter to for the rich and the elite? Why do we want to believe all of this?
That's a good question. Why do we want to believe? Maybe we're seeking a good scare, perhaps, like people who love the to ride the roller coaster.
Could be, could be. I would hope so. I would absolutely hope so. I mean, but there are reports of these tunnels underneath that are both used by military and others that connect to everywhere. A lot of the secret bases, whether it's Area 51, whether it's Dulce in New Mexico, or or dug way up in Utah. Have you heard anything about that?
Oh, yes, I've heard those rumors. Yes.
What do you think about them?
They're all fascinating. It's like you were saying, what do we seek about it? I've always liked horror has always drawn me, and spooky stuff has always drawn me. And I'm so happy now that I can help provide that spookiness for other people.
Well, that is awesome. That is awesome. We got about 4 minutes to go here before we're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Bill Madon from Night Terrors podcast and YouTube channel with us tonight. Bill, for you, when you look at areas like that, are there a number of other areas in the United States that seem to portray the same ways as the Denver airport?
Well, of course, you have the that brings to mind the people that go missing in the national parks, of which David Paulides speaks.
Where do you think those people are going?
Originally, David's theory, from what I've gathered through my research, was that it was Bigfoot. That was his original theory. He doesn't talk about that much anymore, however. He nowadays he likes to leave it up to the reader, usually, I believe.
And what does Bill Madden think?
I think that's an interesting idea for Sasquatch. There are so many other strange things, like when people getting lost in the national parks and leaving their shoes and sometimes even their clothes behind as they go seeking a way out, I guess.
Geez, I am all on board with the portal thing. I believe it's portals, a lot of it, or some strange cryptid encounters. Whether it's a Sasquatch female that maybe lost a youngster and is looking to, recapitalize on being a mom, or, some raging dog man that wants to rip everything apart. I don't know. But when you get a lot of these situations where, you're walking with someone in the forest or even in a downtown city, and they're right beside you or right behind you by a few feet, then you turn and look and they're gone. I mean, you would hear noise, and a lot of times people will be yelling for people, but they won't be able to hear each other. Yet they were screaming aloud, saying, "Where are you?" And technically, on both sides, they're in the same area. Like,
Right,
it just doesn't make sense, man.
right.
What's your opinion?
Yeah, that's one of the common things about disappearances in the national parks. That uh, sometimes when they are found, when they are lucky enough to be found, it turns out they were only a few yards away from where the search parties were going over.
The weird part about it is, I mean, when you find clothing that is folded, and shoes that are untied and placed beside the clothing. I mean, it does not scream to me human abduction. Doesn't
Right,
it
right.
doesn't scream, it seems like there's something a little bit more awkward about this. When you've read a lot of these cases, are you in the belief that, this is happening by maybe some twisted people?
Oh, sure. Men of the woods, men of the forest, Appalachian rumors,
The wild men.
the wild men of Appalachia. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they believe there's some on the West Coast here too.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, that's just a weird and wild topic right off the bat. I know there's a couple of people who live in the wild out here. My buddy has ran into them, and yeah, he says it's kind of weird. But Bill, I'm going to get you to hold on right there if you don't mind, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. First break in, and we're having a great time tonight with the host of Night Terrors on YouTube, Bill Madden. We're going to get into some other weird stories that Bill has covered over this time. So we're going to check him on out and see what Bill has to say about some supernatural, paranormal, alien type adventures maybe dabbled with a little cryptids as well on Spaced Out Radio. Solid first half hour, man.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
You having fun?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Oh, and who else is here? Mennonite Abe. I don't live in the wild, just next to the wild. And who else we got? That's about it. So far. Oh, there's Super Kira. Give us a wave, Super Kira. We know you wave back. I don't ride the Bigfoot to the local Taco Bell. You know Taco Bell's a sensitive topic for me. It's 2 hours away. Michael Fontaine, how you doing? And I got right now we're in a whiteout right now. It is snowing like anything outside. It's been snowing since about 9 this morning. And I'm not ready for snow. Not ready for snow. Fylth, do you got snow yet?
No, it's warm here. Oh, I'm sorry, you said Fylth. That's a Bill.
Bill, where are you? You're in
Upstate New York.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get snow soon.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Dirty Fylth will be next though.
We got a little bit of snow.
You got 9 months a year of snow.
Yes. That's Alberta.
They only allow you to thaw for the 3 months.
It snowed and everybody forgot how to drive despite everybody living here for 10,000 years.
Oh, yeah. I know that
feeling. You know, the delivery trucks are all over the place and everybody's stuck on the sidewalk or in a ditch or in somebody's trunk. It's just insane.
That's because all of the Vancouverites have sold their houses for $1 million+ and have now moved east and north, like to your place or to my place, and they don't know how to drive in the snow.
Winter tires are very useful.
Yeah, you can't get Lower Mainlanders to sell on winter tires. Those summer slicks last all year round, you know, down there.
Whoops.
Roger G. Davis, how are you? Welcome to SOR Chat. I had a good workout tonight or this morning, Fylth.
Oh yeah, what'd you do?
I started going back to the gym, Bill. I'm trying to lose some weight here. You know, old Davey over the last few months got a little heavy. You know, I could be competing in sumo wrestling right now. So,
did you bench press a Sasquatch like Nate Rudd?
No, Nate Rudd could totally bench press a Sasquatch. Hey, Crave Dog, how you doing, buddy? Totally. You know, Nate Rudd, true story, Bigfoot hunter in Washington State. He could bench press 500 pounds in his day.
That's why I was really nice to him in Vegas.
You know, that's heavy. That's heavy, man. That is heavy. here I am working out on the bench press at like 100 pounds, and I'm like, oh my God, it's been so long. Look how strong I am, 100 pounds. That's like 400 pounds more.
I struggle with the fishing lures at work, so I mean, look at my wimpy hands. I just draw cartoons. I'm not set for heavy work or nothing. I got no calluses on my hand. I never worked a day in my life.
I've never, I got to put you on mute, Fylth. I've never seen a human being drawn straight out by Charles Schultz. That's dirty filth right there. All right, here we go, everyone. Second half hour now. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate you doing it. I want to remind you that if you've done, or if you want to check out this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Got a frog in my throat. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go. Bill Madon is here. Night Terrors is his channel on YouTube, and it is a good one. Talking about all things weird and strange, and he comes to us from upstate New York, which probably makes him a Yankee fan, because we would hope that he's a Yankees fan and just as upset as I am about the baseball playoffs. Bill, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, Dave?
Yankee fan?
Oh, yeah.
How did we get knocked out by Houston?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Just absolutely kills me. Kills me. All right, Bill, let's move on here, because you have investigated a number of cryptid sightings, and you did a story a couple of weeks ago regarding some very, very horrific cryptids seen and experienced by people in the Appalachia. What's going on out there?
Yeah, the Appalachian the Appalachians go back, a couple hundred years. So the first Irish Scotch settlers, and they got their own version of witches up there, and their own wild men, and lots of strange things going on there, as well as the cryptids.
Okay, when you say strange things, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's a place where people settled and in the deep woods and never really came out.
So what you think is that there is what, a bunch of human beings that have, kind of left society and are making their way through living in the forests on their own?
Bingo.
And how do you know this?
Well, from all the stories, it just seems apparent.
Can you give me an example?
Good question. Well, there's I think it might be Fugati, the blue Fugati family, that became so inbred that their skin color became blue.
Okay, and what happened with them? Are they still around? Or are they a family?
So they
out
say.
there? I need more than that, man. Give me some love here.
Yeah, they and every once in a while, you'll see someone with a bluish tinge, in that area, and but the other locals, when you ask them, they keep their mouth shut.
Why is it so restricted in people wanting to talk about them over here?
Maybe the clannish nature of the families.
Does that go on through um, through history? Like,
Well,
is
yeah,
it
of course, they've had to rely upon themselves for hundreds of years, and uh, that leads to them not trusting outsiders.
and I'm trying to get, as a Canadian, we don't deal with many that we at least know of wild people. So what makes this area so unique that people have left regular society and grown up like a wild animal?
I don't know if you would say it like a wild animal, because they're human beings, but they've been separated from, let's say, civilization for hundreds of years.
No voting, no nothing, no ID.
Right? I'm sure they don't come out to vote.
This is tough. This is tough to understand. I mean, how are there government officials that track these people, or are they in areas that the government won't even go down those roads?
Well, if by government you mean, let's say, someone who wants to research what their folk songs are, you might see a couple of researchers up there for folk songs, or
Okay.
for the let's say their witchcraft. If you want to learn about what they call their granny witchcraft.
Wow. Now, do they believe this witchcraft works, or they're just so adapted to nature and the outdoors that it seems like witchcraft?
Well, these are their medicine people. The witches are, so that not only are they able to cast a spell, but they're able to set a bone as well.
Wow. All right, let's move on to a new topic here. I mean, from feral humans to controlling the human mind. Are you a big believer in MK Ultra?
Oh, MK Ultra definitely existed. There were congressional hearings about it. The big question is whether it's still going on today. A lot of people think it is,
Do you
under
think
one
it
name or
is?
another. Pardon?
Do you think it is?
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I think the government, especially these days with all the surveillance through the internet, I'm pretty sure that's not the only thing they're doing to people without their knowledge.
So, for people who may not know what MK Ultra is, could you define it for us?
Sure, it was a program started in the late 50s, early 60s, lasted about 2 decades, until about the end of the Vietnam War, about the mid 70s. And they were doing research as to Cold War related research as to whether they could use drugs or alcohol or uh, uh, lysergic acid or what have you to tear down a person's personality and then rebuild it, so that these people or these soldiers would obey like robots.
So, for people listening, it would be the exact same if you went and watched the Bourne movie series with Matt Damon, the Bourne Identity, and all the trilogy of those. That's what we're talking about when it comes to MK Ultra, building these super soldiers out of people. And it goes a little bit further than that. A lot of people believe there's also aliens involved, or reptilian type of creatures involved, that it has gotten into kidnapping, murder, suicides, or murder suicides. It's a very dark topic that very few really go deeply into, Bill.
No doubt. There's a reason for that. It's very dark, as you say.
What would be the purpose in your mind for the United States government having a project like this?
Well, they thought the Soviets were already doing it. They thought they were already using drugs to enhance their soldiers. So one might say it was the natural next step for the paranoid secret services over here to take up the same studies.
Incredible. So, you know, I know people who have been in the MK Ultra program, and they have, and I'm not saying, that they are bad people or that they're making it up or that they're traumatized. I believe these people that they have been part of this my lab type of investigation and taking and so on and so forth. Have you ever talked to anybody who has been involved with this program as a victim and just kind of got an overview of what they went through? And if so, what did they go through?
I have not, but I've seen uh, uh, an excess of the old footage of when they were having the hearings and when it was more a topic of conversation back in the day when the program was revealed to the public. And yeah, these people's stories are absolutely heartbreaking uh, because it seems that they were able to successfully break down a number of people, but they weren't actually able to build them back up again.
And people go nuts. They literally go nuts. And the one thing that we always think is that we always hear the stories coming out of Russia about what they do to test. They have no problem doing human genetic testing on their own people with soldiers. I mean, there was the famous story of the sleep study where they kept people awake for as long as they possibly could until literally some were eating their own,
Right.
and when they finally took the final one out, I mean, it was just nightmarish. Now we only know this, it could be out of legend, it could be true. I mean, who knows what is actually happening? But I mean, it really goes to show that the human mind is extremely fragile on an overall status if you play with it.
No doubt. Well, they were merciless in what they did to these victims. Just they weren't playing so much as attacking them on if not a daily, then an hourly basis.
Right. Right. What for you? What's the difference between MK Ultra and my labs or military abductions?
I haven't heard much about my labs. I should do that as a show. What's that about?
That's where allegedly military people are kidnapping ET contactees.
Oh, really? That
Yeah,
sounds fascinating.
it's very fascinating. It's very fascinating. Yeah, it's and they will put them in different scenarios where it's pretty ugly. And there's a great story of Melinda Leslie, Lorian Fenton, and Misha Johnson all getting taken the night after they got off the air with Coast to Coast AM.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And it's a scary, scary story, but I mean, it's incredible nonetheless of these three ladies being taken down. They knew they were in a secret base. They knew it was somewhere in California. They're not sure if they caught a train over to Nevada. They were all blindfolded. Their heads were covered up. They were drugged. One of them or two of them were brought face to face with an 8-foot reptilian who said that if they didn't stop investigating things, that this thing would come back and do absolutely horrific things to that person and their family members. It's quite a heavy story.
Maybe also to deter them from speaking out as well.
Absolutely. But thankfully it hasn't.
Oh,
And
thank God.
I don't think there's a roll of duct tape thick enough to actually shut up Melinda Leslie or Lorian Fenton, to be honest.
Amen.
So that's kind of where that works. All right, let's continue on here. One of the topics that you have really delved into over the last month or so is immortals. Now, this subject absolutely intrigues me. There's a couple of subjects that do: immortals and time travel. Because ever since I was a kid and watched Highlander, I always thought that there would be potentially some sort of immortals walking on this planet. And maybe it's hope. I sure as hell know I'm not one. I don't think I've ever met one, but I do believe that that immortality is real, and I do believe that maybe there are some special people out there, if we could call them people, that are immortal. What's your thoughts on immortality?
Right. It's not easy to find their stories, but when you do, they're fascinating. Uh, People who are seen not only during their lifetimes, but in the following centuries as well.
Now, you have investigated a few of these. Who did you pick on?
Good question. Uh, During the most recent show, uh, I did a Chinese emperor that wanted to be immortal, and for that reason, he drank mercury. I think that wasn't such a good idea for him. Uh, there's the famous guy. I'm trying to think of his name. Famous European dude. We did another Chinese guy about which there's a lot of documentation of him living like 256 years. That one we did as well.
There's also a number of movie stars that have had pictures or portraits painted of them that look very, very similar to people today. Looking at your thumbnails, you got Justin Timberlake, on one side, and then you got this picture from, I believe, the 1800s of another person. You've got Keanu Reeves up there as well, and there's a painting illustration of somebody that looks almost identical to him way in the past. There's been, I know, looking into this subject, there's been talks of John Travolta or Tom Cruise or many others that have been cited with artistry or photography of the past. What is your take on that?
Yeah, it makes you wonder. There's so many of these out there these days. Maybe a case of reincarnation.
I don't know. You tell me. Do you think it's reincarnation, or do you think it's immortality?
There you go. That's about the only two things that could be, right?
I really don't know. I know what I want it to be, Bill. I know what I want it to be really, really bad, and I don't, but I don't think I'm right, you know. Oh yes, Dirty Fylth says in the chat room, Nicolas Cage, you know,
Right.
there's the famous picture of him as well. I mean, granted, the fact that over time, it's not surprising that there are people out there. I mean, we all have, what is it? I think there's a study that almost everybody has between 4 and 7 doppelgangers on
Yeah.
this earth. And be
Yeah.
damned if there's other people who look like me out there. I apologize. I apologize profusely, right, for giving you a face for radio and a voice for print, but it's just one of those things that I always wonder about, I mean, do you believe that it's just like the doppelganger effect?
Your voice is great, Dave. That's a third possibility, right? Doppelganger effect. I never thought of that.
That's the way I would see it being. I would totally see it being that way. But I mean, what's the one that really weirds you out?
Well, I recently saw one that I had never seen before. The one of Jimmy Fallon, and the old black and white of him taken. It looks like in the '60s, and he hasn't aged a day.
I haven't seen that one. I have not seen that one. Was it from the '60s? Because he was born in the '70s, I believe.
So they say.
So do you believe then that maybe some of these people aren't immortals, but maybe time travelers?
That would be amazing.
Help me out here.
But-
Amazing.
But if just one of them was immortal, that would be incredible.
Immortality, one of the big topics that Fylth, we got to do more on immortality and time travelers, because it just trips me out a little bit. We need to do that. And there's the big thumbs up from Dirty Fylth. That's why I love him around here. He's a man of few words, but he gives a big thumb. Big thumb. All right, let's continue on. We have about 4 minutes here before we're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Bill Madon from Night Terrors YouTube channel is our guest tonight. What's your thoughts on aliens?
Oh, they're out there. They're definitely out there. In my opinion, my humble opinion.
Ever see one?
I did hear you, Mr. Scott.
Have you ever seen one?
I don't believe I have. People are always asking me, has anything about which you're talking about, has any of these weird things ever happened to you? And I always had to tell them no, except until very recently when I think I met a ghost.
Oh, you got to tell us that ghost story.
Well, I was actually getting gasoline, and I went inside. I think I picked up a 6-pack of Coke or something like that, and I wanted to get out of the convenience store that was by the pumps. I wanted to get out of the convenience store, but I couldn't because there was people coming in at the same time. There was it looked like to me like a grandmother and 2 children, like maybe, I don't know, 5 and 13, 2 small boys. And I thought, okay, I'll wait till these guys get in here and then I can leave, because I want to get the hell out of the heck out of the store. And so the 2 kids come in, and I'm waiting for grandma to come in, but she doesn't come in. So I thought, well, she decided to stay outside. Then I walk out of the store. There is no one outside whatsoever. There's no, and I looked at the cars too. There's nobody in any of the cars either. She had just completely disappeared. I think she might have been accompanying them in spirit form.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if we saw a ghost or not, but Tim Senor, who does our UFO report, when we traveled to Las Vegas back in July, we stayed at Caesar's Palace, and we literally arrived at Caesar's Palace at about 11 o'clock at night after our flight was delayed 4 hours in Denver due to a lightning storm right over top of the airport, because planes and electricity don't mix, and we got to Caesar's Palace. It took us 2 hours. They had 200 people in line checking in, and they had 4 people up front. Felt bad for them. It was horrible. Took us almost 2 hours to get through and get to our rooms. But while we were walking to our rooms, we had this guy. He must have looked about, now this is around 1 o'clock in the morning. He must have looked around about 90, 100 in older periodical clothing, full body, walked right by us. I said, "Hi, how you doing?" And he barely acknowledged us. And it was only us 3 in the hallway heading towards our tower. And we turned and looked, and we just watched the guy continue wandering on. Don't know if he was a ghost. Don't know if he was alive. Or maybe he was alive but didn't realize he was a ghost. Or maybe he was a ghost and didn't realize he was still alive. I really don't know. Really don't know. But it was a trippy experience. I looked at Tim, and Tim and I are like, was that guy real? Or was that actually a spirit that we just saw? Because, the Caesar's Palace is what? 70 years old? 75 years old? It's still gorgeous inside. But, it wouldn't be beyond the reckoning of it happening.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Well, I don't know. But, Bill, I'm going to get you to hold on. Great hour. Number 1, we have another fantastic hour coming up with Bill Madon here on Spaced Out Radio. Bill is the host of Night Terrors on YouTube. Go check it on out. He's got some great stories there. we'll continue on, getting into all things supernatural here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Stay tuned. Quickly say hello to Kevin Kingsmore. How you doing? Data Derivations, how are you? Who else has jumped in here late? Jessica McCreary, thanks for coming on in. And who else is here? Logan L. And let's see here. I think we are caught up. Bill, we're going to put Dirty Fylth up here. And we got about 5.5 minutes here. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes, okay?
All right.
If you want to chat with Fylth, you're more than welcome to.
Fylth, what are you drawing?
Well, we're currently drawing an intermission cartoon because I had it set up for a while and I never ended up finishing it. So I said, what the heck, I'll finish it up. So every time there's an intermission, I always put. Yes, it's watercolor.
Wow.
And, this is the old version. For whenever we're done the breaks or whatever, I'll throw that down. That's the old one, but I'm doing a way better one. So yeah, it's coming along smoothingly. If that's even a word, it is now.
When I was working in the summer at Fort William Henry, I got one of those maps of Lake George that it was black and white, and I thought what I would do is I would stand in the courtyard in the uniform, and I would take my watercolors and paint this map, right? Put the color in the map, and I thought that people would come around and ooh and ah and watch me paint, but everyone just left me alone.
I feel you. I mean, I've drawn cartoons and junk my whole life and whatnot, and nobody ever seems to go to the guy with cartoons until all the cartoons are done and whatnot. But it's just interesting that I can sit here and draw cartoons and people seem to enjoy it. So it's kind of a weird twist of fate from when I was a young lad till now, when nobody really watched a lot of the stuff or cared about cartoons. And I don't know, but I read a lot of books, did do a lot of hanging out in sports things, so it's kind of wimpy, like I said, my nice smooth hands. And so I probably missed out on all that stuff. But anyways, I'm just ramming away here. I apologize.
You could do this on Twitch.
I probably could. I'm not very technical savvy, which is why I use watercolor. But
actually, you are doing it on Twitch right now, actually. Because
right on.
Dave is multicasting to both YouTube and Twitch, I believe, right now.
Well, I do have a Twitch account. I just use it for basically the only video game I play, because every once in a while they have drops and junk on there. And so
what's your game of choice?
It's called Conqueror's Blade. But actually, my favorite game is RPGs. I love rolling pen and paper dice. We're doing that this Saturday, by the way, everybody. Got a huge dungeon set up. All the nerds don't even have a chance. Well, they got a good chance, but they're not going to expect this big dungeon because I've been running them along here for a while. And oh, bloody hells. I hope nobody's listening. Watson, if you're listening, stop listening. But nonetheless, though, going off on like 10,000 tangents here.
Will there be a caption for this, or is that it? Fylth is now wrangling cats. I see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Here I can see the.
Oh yeah. Almost missed
wrangling cat. There's. There I am chasing. That's the Blob, and that's Whiskey. Those are my two cats.
Cool. What colors are they?
Blob's a calico, and Whiskey's a barn cat. Blob was found half frozen to death inside of a hay bale. I think it was in Heisler, Alberta, somewhere.
Oh my goodness.
I might be wrong. And so Mrs. Fylth took care of her. She got better, and she turned into a big football cat because she was just real fat. That's what we called her, the Blob. Then we moved to the new place we live at, and lots of place for her to run around. She lost a whole bunch of weight, so she's not Blob anymore. We could basically call her Blob or Blob, but for the most part, Yeah, I got two cats. They're
What do you
pests.
feed them?
Raw meat, because they're from the
Really?
farm. Yep.
Really? Sounds like the life of Riley.
We got about 90 seconds, guys.
Hey, Dave. It was
Bill,
mostly
if I-
cat talk eventually.
Hour number 2, if you don't mind. If you don't mind going in depth into a few more of your stories, that would be absolutely wonderful for our audience, man.
You got it.
Thanks, buddy. Your content is amazing, man.
Well, thank you,
Absolutely
Dave.
amazing.
You're no slouch yourself.
Well, I'm trying not to slouch anymore. Can't breathe.
Sit up straight, Dave.
I'm trying, Fylth. I'm trying.
If I see you slouching, I will write you a nasty letter.
Oh, yeah. Do it. Write me a nasty letter. That way I need some fire starter. Thank you tonight so far to Judy, Jeremy, Jeff, and Cat Chaser for the amazing super chats. The super chats really do help with what we do here on a nightly basis. Don't forget, guys, that very soon we're going to be posting about Las Vegas, May 19th to 21st at the Golden Nugget. We want all of you there to join us for a great weekend, and we're going to have some fun. Here we go, everyone. Here comes hour number 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fascinoris. Fascinoris is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Bill Madon. He is here from the Night Terrors YouTube channel, and where he covers a bunch of different topics, and it's something that you could really dig your teeth into, from urban legends to time travelers, parallel universes to aliens and ghosts alike. And it is very interesting to listen to his stories. Bill, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
It's great to have you here. We were talking, just getting into ghost. You mentioned a ghost story right before the break, but right before that, I had asked you about aliens and some of the alien encounters that you have covered videos on. Is there a story out there that sticks out for you regarding extraterrestrials?
I kind of like the one about the goblin attack. I think it might have been in Kentucky, where the family was witnessed the landing of these goblins, and they started to attack the house, and they were firing out through the screen door on the porch, and they finally got out of there, and they convinced the police they were they at least believed what they were telling about the story.
You know what's amazing about that, the Kentucky Goblins, is a few years ago, Greg and Dana Newkirk did a series called Hellier on that entire subject, and it took them really down a real rabbit's hole that led to everything from Indrid Cold to conspiracies about whether or not the goblins existed. Took them to a little town called Hellier in Kentucky, where they went through the tunnel systems and so on and so forth. Now, they never found that, But I mean, do you believe that the goblins are still around?
That's a good question. I believe they were then. I don't know if they are now.
It's just one of those weird stories, one of those weird ones. You also have a weird one regarding this going over in Japan about some children captured by a UFO. What happened there?
Well, actually, the children themselves captured a UFO.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, they observed this disc-shaped UFO, and it was small enough for them to carry, actually. And one of them one of them would bring it home, and then overnight it would disappear, and they would go back out to where they found it, which it was like a rice paddy, I guess. And they would find it again and capture it again, and then a different kid would bring it home, and then overnight it would disappear from that kid's home. Yeah, it involved quite a number of children too.
Really? And did nobody ever think of any of these children or their parents turning it over to authorities?
Unfortunately, the last time that it disappeared from one of the kids overnight, it never appeared again in the rice paddy.
Wow. How long ago was that story? I'd never heard that one.
I believe this was early 60s, perhaps 1964.
Everything good happened in the 60s with UFOs.
Twiggy.
No kidding. No kidding. You know, but I mean, the idea that these kids could pick up this UFO and it would disappear overnight. I mean, did any of them see how it was disappearing and reappearing in the same area?
No, they never saw it, but it did give them time to sketch it, especially this one kid who drew detailed sketches of it.
Wow.
Yeah, there
That
was
is
on the bottom of there was kind of a grate, and they say that you could look into the grate and see electronic components inside.
interesting. Very interesting. How about the one in Australia? You have a UFO mystery there.
Right. I'm kind of blanking on that one. I'd never heard it before, and I'd done it for the first time for that show. Let me see if I can remember. I do remember that the principal really didn't want anyone talking about it. It had appeared to the children and some teachers, and the principal put the kibosh on it. For quite a long time, no one did talk about it. But then it came out like decades later.
Interesting. I want to get back to time travel here because I know you've done a number of specials on time travel and whether or not it is real. I mean, we talked a little bit about it earlier on in our number one, but I should ask you point blank. Do you believe that there are time travelers walking on this planet right now?
Well, there's lots of people who say they are, and there are lots of stories of uh, people having time traveled. And again, if just one of those is true,
Oh, what would you do if you learned that time travel was true?
I'd try to find out how to take advantage of that fact. I
Go
go
back,
back, I
go
go, I
back
go
and buy a
back in time
smartphone.
and go back in time and hopefully not make so many mistakes this time.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah, I can honestly say I would be doing some great investments. That's for sure. You imagine if way back in the day you took that extra $10 and instead of going to the video store, you invested it in Apple, way
Right.
back in the day.
Or Casio watches.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But you do have some interesting stories in regards to time travel. And I don't know if anybody or even if you heard the story. There was a story a few years ago about a gentleman who allegedly did do that. Is he went to Wall Street and he was made millions within a very short amount of time regarding investments. Did you ever hear that time travel story?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he got arrested. They wouldn't let him out uh, to uh, to access his money, but evidently he did make like millions on the stock market before he got arrested. So somehow he disappeared from jail somehow, or was released on his own recognizance or something, and then he vanished.
Yeah, never to be seen again. And I mean, he racked up something like $300 million within a few months. It was just crazy type money on that too. Just knowing what was going to hit and when to sell and everything. I mean, I don't know if that story is true or not because there's so few details about it. But I mean, I want to believe. Bill, I want to believe so bad in the whole time travel aspect. You did a story about a kid who traveled through time. Tell us about this young kid.
Right, the politician. He actually ran for president in 2018, maybe.
Are
Uh,
you taking Andrew Bishago?
yeah, Andrew Bashago, and yeah, and I guess they were because young children were so resilient, they were the only ones who could travel through the portal that the government had developed, and he wound up uh, getting in a picture uh, taken by one of the World War II photographers uh, at the Gettysburg Address, and you can see him in this picture. It's an old, like a daguerreotype picture.
Yeah, you know what? I think what killed Andrew Bishago's entire reputation on that was the idea that he was allegedly supposed to win the presidency in 2016.
That's
And
what it was, 2016. Thank you.
I don't know. I mean, I want to believe Andrew Bishago so much. I really do want to believe him, but it, the whole president thing just really threw it out of my mind. It really did.
If you've ever seen him speak, like on YouTube videos or whatever, he's very convincing.
Extremely convincing. Now, the funny part about it is I know there are people still to this day, like, and I'm talking, I've had this conversation recently, who believe that these jump rooms are real and they are tied to the secret space program. And you could get to the moon, you could get to Mars by some of these,
Right. I've heard
you
that.
know. What's your thoughts? Do you think they are real?
It wouldn't surprise me if they were.
Why is that?
Uh, because I think that the government has technology which they're probably hiding, perhaps technology they garnered from alien visitors.
I believe you're right there. I believe you are right. Do you think the time travel does come from uh visitors from another planet, or did the time travel come here from, say, fellow Americans, say 1,000 or 500, 100 years from now?
That's a good question. It could be people traveling back in time. It could be our own people, human people, traveling back in time.
Even though Back to the Future tells us not to do it. I don't know. Maybe there's a DeLorean park somewhere at Los Alamos. Let's go on with time travel stories here. You have one of a knighted time traveler of the realm. What's this story about?
Oh, good question. The guy who was the knight. Could that be the one? The guy that uh, was in the guy that's buried in that cemetery in London, the Brighton Cemetery, where they believe that the mausoleum itself may contain the time machine.
I think that's the one. I believe that might be.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. I think the Courtois mausoleum is the name of the mausoleum, and Hannah Courtois was friends with this this wacky inventor who also invented like special torpedoes for the Navy, and another gentleman who could read and translate Egyptian. And at that time, in the Victorian period, the Victorians believed that the Egyptians knew how to travel in time. So if that translator was able to translate certain key passages, and that inventor was able to uh, bring that machine to fruition, who knows what that mausoleum may contain?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting. I tend to believe that time travelers are here. I tend to believe that it's still very government secret. But I mean, you think about with a lot of the advancements we are making, Bill, with wanting to go to the Mars and the moon and everything that goes along with it. I mean, you'd have to think that that technology has already been created or tested before they go somewhere, because usually when they start talking about doing something, it's already been done.
Right.
That's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, if you look at what Ben Rich, former head of Lockheed Skunk Works, said in the 1990s, in the early 90s, regarding, you know, Lockheed was already 50 to 80 years ahead of where, um, of where the public was seeing at that moment in time. It's just weird that way, watching this all kind of unfold right in front of us.
Right.
All right, let's move on here as we continue on with Bill Madon from Night Terror's YouTube channel here. You also have a real interesting pieces on here about out of place artifacts, from bricks to the crystal skulls to what looks to be remote controls and bottles of whiskey and everything like that. What intrigues you about these topics?
Yeah, those are interesting. For example, the hammer they found encased in igneous rock in England, uh, or there's also artifacts that actually look like a cell phone that has been found, and there's another artifact that looks like a spark plug that was found inside igneous rock, which of course would mean that the rock is millions of years old.
I like the one in China with the Swiss watch.
All right. Yeah.
Tell us the story on that if you're familiar with it.
Well, I've seen the picture, and it's a petite woman-sized watch uh, that again was encased in rock that was, if not hundreds of thousands, then millions of years old.
Yeah. I mean, it almost makes you think that this is a repeat of civilization. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, there's a lot of people have said that there's certainly been enough time in the 4.5 billion years that the Earth's been in existence for civilizations to rise and fall and completely disappear by the time we came on the scene.
Yeah, it would be very interesting to see, Bill, if we'd already done this all before on this planet. I mean, it seems so far fetched and very sci-fi. But I mean, how else do you kind of portray it, Bill, when you look at the topics and you look at some of the artifacts that have been found, and it's right out of where we see. I mean, even in the Egyptian, a lot of the Egyptian scripts that are carved into the rocks. I mean, seeing helicopters and speedboats and airplanes and UFOs and I mean, it just makes you wonder what was actually there, even going back as little as 4,000 years ago.
Aeroplanes that they have tested in wind tunnels successfully, even though they're made out of gold.
Right? I'd like a gold airplane. I'm just not oil rich enough right now. Just not oil rich enough. That is for sure. That is for sure. So the idea behind what with time travel here is do you think that we are able to go into the future, or like Andrew Bashago claims, go into the past? Are we able to jump into different timelines to travel to different planets? Or are you a believer in that all, Bill?
Oh, we're definitely able to go into the future. That could be done now. Well, it could be done if you travel towards the speed of light. For every year that passes for you in your capsule, tens or hundreds of years would pass here on Earth. So you could definitely, and Einstein says so too, you could definitely travel to the future through time.
Would you like to be a time traveler, Bill?
I would like nothing better. How about yourself, Dave?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I'm still waiting for the aliens to pick me up. That's one thing I'm still waiting for.
Just get some of that good evidence implanted on you and you're all set.
Oh, yes. Where are the aliens when you need them?
Where are the implants when you need them?
Yeah, right. Darn implants. But anyhow, as we continue on here, we got about 3 minutes to go before we go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Bill Madon is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. One of the topics, and we could probably carry this one over to the final half hour with you, is the Mandela effect. Now, I'm not a big believer in the Mandela effect, but there's a lot of strangeness that I thought happened that apparently I've got wrong. What's your thoughts of the Mandela effect?
Well, I'm convinced that the Mandela effect is real. I think that what it's more likely is that if you've ever heard of the theory of the multiverse, that people experiencing something different today than what they remember in their minds may be a reflection of the fact that they encountered the former object in a different universe.
What's your favorite Mandela effects?
Well, of course, you got the classic, in which Nelson Mandela was supposed to have died in prison, but he didn't.
Which is what it's named after.
Right, right.
I think my favorite is the Ford logo.
Oh, yeah.
With the little curly Q on the F.
Yeah, yeah.
My buddy owns a Ford dealership. And apparently that curly Q has been there forever. And yet, right beside me here, I actually have an old Ford key. It's hard to see on here, but it does not have the curly Q.
Aha.
That one weirds me out.
Deepens.
The other one that kind of weirds me out too, and a lot of people will roll their eyes on this, but the reason why I'm reminded about it now is the fact that in Canada and even many parts of the United States and around the world, during this time of year, we wear poppies for veterans as a reminder for World War II, the end of World War II. And we're always told to put it on our left chest because that's where the heart is. Yet, if you look at the human body now, the human heart is still on the left, but it's more towards the center of the chest now.
Right.
Yet, we were always told that the heart is on the left side.
Right, right. There's also some people who remember a different number of stars and or stripes on the flag from their childhood than we have now.
Well, let's carry over the Mandela effect. Maybe we'll have a Mandela effect during the break. I don't know. But let's carry it over during the break because this is a conversation that I absolutely love to have because it just absolutely intrigues me. Bill Madon from Night Terrors YouTube channel. You're going to want to check it out. Hit subscribe. More weird Good stories coming up with Bill when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear. Bill, I'm just going to run upstairs and grab myself another full cup of water here because I'm running low, but I'll be right back. Dirty Fylth, are you still there? And give us an update on what you're doing.
Well, looks like
That's
we got that
amazing,
drawing
Dirty Phil.
finished.
That is
Yeah,
just
there we are. There's
fantastic.
me. That's me chasing after my cats. Not in the
Wow.
wintertime.
You are good.
So yeah, that blob of color turned into that. Whoops, there's my
Yeah.
little squeaky chair.
And
I guess I might as well show. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to ask, what are the green tufts on the bottom? That's like different level of grass in the field. Is that what that is? Or
Oh, definitely, yes.
Okay,
Nobody.
okay.
It's funny. Nobody's ever like mentioned that or noticed that, and I always do that. It's like you got to have the little bit of extra tufts of grass and whatnot to fill out the painting, because otherwise it's just open space. And if I just colored it all green, it would look pretty bland, and there's just a lot for your eye to look at. That's what I go for. So you can spend some time just looking at the drawing. Almost all my drawings are like that. Would you like to see the drawing from last night?
Absolutely.
All right.
What is
So we got-
that for? Bigfoot? I use it to fully human. Works every time.
And it's the same right footprint every time. And it's Dogman and Sasquatch shooting debris in the forest, fooling humans, and they're just out there having a time, man. That's the kind of stuff I do.
Did you
Okay,
come up
hold
with
on a
that
sec
idea
here.
yourself?
Yeah, I came up with that about like 8 minutes before the show.
Wow.
It happens all the time. I'm just panicking. I'm thinking to myself, oh, Hood's breath. I'm never going to get this done. What am I going to draw? And then bling, it just clicks in every time.
Wow.
So I did what else do I got here? I'm just reaching over to the pile. Here's are you familiar with Skinwalker Ranch?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so they've been launching rockets or whatever, and the rockets have been all weird, and they spanky with the tight jaw and the nice haircuts. Like, oh, there might be a portal. So I drew this guy here.
Stop launching your
so-
junk into my dimension. Tonk.
And he's
old
throwing the
Skinwalker Ranch.
rocket back. Yeah,
And you have the cactuses. That's gorgeous.
just
What's the
of course,
fence
desert.
looking thing back there? What is that?
That's the desert mesa.
Okay, Desert Mesas. All right. Cool.
Yeah. And then I drew a little the orb that was apparently they filmed cruising around there.
The old
And then,
Skinwalker Ranch.
what
That's
else do we got
excellent.
here?
Are those
The next
cactuses
drawing.
or are those kind of some kind of bombs?
Oh, it's cactuses, definitely.
Cactuses. Okay.
That's how I do them. And then since we're still in the desert, I did Katie
Katie
Grabowski,
travels
I
back
think
to
that's her name,
Roswell,
yeah.
1947.
Like, yeah, it's a dead alien.
Dead
she,
alien.
She mentioned on the show once she'd like to go back to like see Roswell. So, and by the way, if she's listening, you gotta get a hold of me so I can send you this drawing here, Dave. You gotta bug her for me here.
We'll
Take
give her
up
help.
space in my
Triangular
house.
crap and still in the sky too. That's nice.
We'll give her
Yeah,
help.
you get the triangle, the sports model, and a tic tac for good measure.
By
you
the
got
way,
sports
did you see what
model.
Did you see what Brandon Fugel just bought to add to his movie collection?
Is it Blade Runner stuff?
No, he bought he paid. Now, I think he did because he posted this on Twitter earlier tonight about at an auction, a private person bought the Bible that from Shawshank Redemption for $450,000.
Do you think he'd trade me a couple drawings for it?
Dude, you have pull with him. He loves the filth art.
Actually, Dave does tell the truth. He sent me a copy of the Secrets of Skin or the oh bloody hells, I have it downstairs. It's a Skinwalker Ranch book. George Knapp, Colm Keller wrote it, or together. I'm not totally sure.
Right.
And then he even wrote me a nice letter. It was like, "Thanks, Dirty Fylth, for your drawing." So it was pretty cool.
Dirty.
But for a guy that likes books to give up a book, that's very impressive. And I wouldn't give up my books. He gave up a book for me, so that's pretty good in my books. Anyways.
Hey, we got to get going here, guys. T2E, thanks for the super chat. Fylth, T2E wants to buy some of your art. Thank you to Judy, Jeremy, Jeff, and Kat as well for the super chats. It's a great way to support what we do. Here we go with the next half hour. Hit the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears. And we want to remind you that you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, Bill Madon joins us from Night Terrors YouTube channel, where we're going over the Mandela effect and some of the high strangeness around it. Do you believe it? Do you believe it's the Berenstain or Berenstain Bears? What do you remember? There's a lot of them going around. Bill, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you, Dave.
Hard to believe we only have half an hour left with you. It's been a fantastic show, my man. Fantastic show. Mandela effect. There are a number of these strange ones. You know, what do you think are some of the top ones out there? Is it movies? Is it just everyday life? Is it the fact that the world didn't end in 2012? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, some people think that's when the timelines began to diverge was in 2012.
Now, I always thought that, you know, maybe the Aztecs, when their calendar ran out, I mean, barring the simple answer that, number one, they were on the Gregorian calendar, which would have made December 21st, not December 21st. But nobody ever asked the question is, what if their calendar guy died and there was nobody to replace him? Like, why was that never in the picture there? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Nobody ever asked that. We always want to talk about the end of the world and that the Mayans had predicted the end of the world. But I also thought of it too, is what if that was some sort of transition in timeline?
Exactly.
You know, the Luke, I am your father from Star Wars, which never happened.
Right.
You know, what do you perceive it to be?
That's a good, that's a good one. The Luke, I'm your father. That never happened. Scotty, beam me up. Never happened. Berenstain, I remember the stain. I thought that was quite unusual when I was a little kid. So I'm from the universe that where it was Stain, but a lot of people remember Stein.
I want to ask you though, could the Mandela effect have been affecting all of us differently?
Oh yes, I do believe so.
Like, could it have been an individual type of effect on us?
Of course, but you have lots of people remembering the same thing though at the same time. The Shazam movie that never happened.
Oh yeah, and you know what's weird about that one is I thought Sinbad back in the 80s was one of the worst actors on TV. He was horrible. You remind me of Bob Saget. You know, I couldn't stand these people on TV who would laugh at their own jokes on TV. Drove me nuts. That's why I couldn't stand Bob Saget. Not funny. Ray Romano, not funny. Okay, Sinbad, not funny. And I remember saying to my buddies, man, I am not going to see that movie. Totally remember, you know, because they had him with his baggy MC Hammer pants on the cover that were all shiny and sequins. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it was kind of funny. And those pants are probably like pirate pants, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so, I mean, it just amazes me, though. You know, another one that was pointed out by Brian Stavely, I always remember Cuba being a little bit further away or a little bit closer to Miami and not as big of an island. Yet you look at a map now and Cuba's huge.
Right.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I haven't looked at the Cuba itself, but wasn't there something about the continents themselves having changed shape somewhat? Like whether or not South America was directly underneath North America type thing, I seem to remember.
Right. And yet South America is closer to Africa than North America.
Right.
It's very, very weird. Very, very weird, you know. But let's get to another topic here, because another one of the high strangeness topics that you have covered over the last little bit, and it's been a topic that we have delved into in this subject because it just intrigues me, is these stairwells in the middle of the forest. Now, the rumor says that you should never go to the top, because if you get to the top of the stairwell, you can never come back. What's your thoughts on these stairwells?
Yeah, the stairs in the woods. Another slightly viral video for myself. I was one of the first people to cover that back in the day. Most everyone knows about them now. Yet some people, upon climbing them, find that they lose the sounds of the forest and everything goes silent. Uh, there's a story of I want to say a Portuguese gentleman who was worked in one of their national forests, and he actually was like running from a wild dog or something and ran up the stairs. And when he came back down and went back to the forest HQ, it turned out he'd been missing for 5 years.
No way. 5 years. Wow.
So they say.
And for
And these are
him, it was
reports. These are reports that I found myself going through Reddit. A lot of people will say, "Well, the original story was just made up uh, uh, by this guy, this Forest Service rescue guy." But what I did was I went to the Reddit responses to find the stories that people were relating that had really happened to them, and that's where I found that Portuguese story.
incredible. Did you ever hear the story of the guy who in Sweden who went, I guess he was a plumber and he went to fix his sink because his sink was leaking, and he went under his cabinet, and then while he was under there, like a portal opened up and he was able to crawl through the portal to meet his 70-year-old self.
Oh
And they were
yeah. Yeah, I've seen
and
the photographs too. They pose together like with the showing the same tattoo kind of thing.
what's your thoughts on that? I mean, because
Yeah,
that
that's
could easily be a father-son thing.
yeah, right. Well, I don't know. Uh, Supposedly it was him and then him as an older person, and that they met each other. And there's photographic evidence as well.
Yeah, because the guy actually ran his phone, but I mean, it's been highly broken down over time, and you know the skeptics have absolutely torn it apart. But you know, I think that's the problem that we have with a lot of information these days. is we've become so highly skeptical of absolutely everything due to everything from costumes to CGI to a 4-year-old being able to edit his own YouTube videos with precision and no college education that it used to need. I mean, it's getting harder and harder to really figure out what is real and what's the truth anymore, Bill.
It's going to get worse too with these what they call deep fakes, being able to duplicate the image of somebody and their voice. It's going to be wild in the coming years if we don't blow ourselves up.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen. Because I'll
World
be
War
honest.
III coming. I got a feeling the big one's coming. And not too very much longer either. The nations
No,
are beginning to choose up sides.
you think so?
Yeah, I do.
You
World
think
War
we're all
III coming
we're
down the
just
road
we're gonna
sooner
drop the
than you
gloves
think.
and go?
Pardon me, Dave?
We're just gonna drop the gloves and go?
It's there's going to be a powder keg moment, and I think we're going to see it, if not within 2 years, then definitely within 1 year.
Wow. That's quite the prediction.
That's the way I feel.
And how come you feel this? What kind of lends you the issue on that?
Just the fact that right now you have, without going into politics, you have different nations joining others, some that used to be friends and now they're enemies. It's more and more volatile with each passing week.
Well, that is true. That is very true in regards to that. But I mean,
Also, I'm sorry, excuse me, Dave. Also, I think in times before war, you'll notice that women are held in higher regard. I don't know how misogynistic this is, but women are held in higher regard, and then when it comes to the war, women are held in less regard, which is not a good thing. But if you notice how recently women have been held in very high regard, I think that's another sign that the big one's coming.
I've never heard of that before. Not sure I believe that, but
Just my personal pet theory. Well, the thing that made me think of that was I remember back during Vietnam, passing by like strip clubs everywhere. This is the reason I think that women were held in less regard during wartime.
Okay. All right. Well, let's hope it doesn't happen. We'll make sure that we put all our energy and focus towards the fact that women can be held in high regard without a war happening. I think we can do that.
That would be great.
I think we could do that. Getting back to these stairways for a second, though, have you ever met anybody or talked to anybody who has ever seen any of these mysterious stairways in the middle of a forest?
Oh yeah, sure. People
what
have
have
said,
they
yeah, I've seen them. Usually through comments. I'm halfway sure I've seen them myself. I never climbed any, but I'm halfway sure I've seen them myself. I've lived in not even suburban, but rural areas my whole life.
Now, when we say stairways, are these just stairways that are there, or maybe there was a structure or a home or a barn surrounding them at one point?
Some people say that's the case. In other cases, however, no, they're just sitting out there alone.
What would happen, or what's the alleged speculation of what would happen if you made it to the top of the stairwell?
Again, there's you got people who think maybe that's a deadly thing to attempt. Other people that have found a portal at the top, and still others that they feel nauseous as they climb up, and they really don't want to get to the top. They're feeling so sickly that and they know it's being caused by the stairs, so they beat feet as fast as possible from that locale.
Would you ever do it?
Yeah, I think I might. I might. I don't know. It depends. I don't know if my wife would let me.
Let's see. If I was with my ex-wife, definitely. Could be much worse. All right, let's continue on here as we keep on going through some of your great stories that you have covered over time. There's a bunch of different weird cryptids out there. Most of us, we're always talking Dogman. We're always talking Bigfoot. But we forget about the Glimmer Man. We forget about Siren Head or the Hat Man or anything like that. Have you followed reports on any of those?
Oh yeah, the Hat Man. I've looked at the Hat Man stories before. Those are usually very malicious characters. The Hat Man.
And what did you find?
That it's not good to run into one.
What happens?
Definitely not good. Oh, what would happen? Don't invite him in. I can tell you that. Whatever you do, don't invite him in.
Is it like the Black-Eyed Kids?
That is in one way like the Black-Eyed Kids. Yeah. Don't invite in the Black-Eyed children either.
How many cases have you heard about that?
Oh, I did a video or two on the Black-Eyed Kids. 2 videos, one live show and one not live. Yeah, those are spooky. There's footage of them too out there on the net.
Do you believe they are evil and nefarious?
Yeah, I wouldn't trust a Black-Eyed Kid as far as I could throw it.
Where do you think they go? There's only one story that I have ever heard where someone let them into their house, but they didn't directly let them in. They just kind of forced their way in.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that one.
And I don't know if the guy had the tar beaten out of him or he just kind of blanked out and wasn't feeling good or felt victimized afterwards. But he said when he woke up, they were gone.
Right.
And nothing was robbed. His wallet was still there. Phones were still there. Furniture, televisions were still there. Jewelry was still there. But he doesn't remember what happened when they came in.
What probably saved him is that he did not invite them in, and that they were forced to force their way in themselves.
So for people who may not understand, what is supposed to happen if you let black-eyed children into your home?
Death and dismemberment comes to mind.
Pleasant. I had a friend of mine, Jacob Rice. He actually had an encounter with a black-eyed kid at his fence. He lives in rural Washington State, and he was walking his dogs outside. And he had just put, he heard this, excuse me. So he walks up to his fence, and there's a boy there.
Wow.
You can barely see the boy, and the boy was like, "Can I borrow your phone?
Oh,
Can
my
you let me
goodness.
so I can borrow your phone?" He's like, "Well, no, he lives in a rural area where like there's only a couple houses on his street, okay, and there's not a lot of kids that are roaming around there." And long story short, at the end of this, the boy goes away. The dog was continually growling at the boy, but something didn't sit right with Jake afterwards. And when he went and reviewed his security camera footage, there was never a boy there.
Wow.
It blew me away. Still
That's
bugs me
incredible.
to this day. And it's never happened again. Only
Thank
happened
God.
that only happened that once, man. I'm like, man, could you imagine if you would have let him in?
Good decision on not letting him use your phone.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. What's your thoughts on things like mermaids?
Well, mermaids are interesting. There's up in Scotland area there, they have myths and legends about the blue men, who are people, blue men who live under the sea.
Do you believe that they are evil in order to help sink ships?
I think the way it works though with the blue men is that they challenge the captain of the ship, I think, to uh, some kind of game of the nines, to where they try to top one another, and if they lose the game, then they will raid the ship, or even sink the ship, making it much easier for them to raid from underwater.
Right. Right. Yeah, I've always been curious about that because, a lot of the like when we bring Varla Ventura on here, she talks about them almost acting like sirens, where they're trying to lustfully lure the sailors overboard and into the water to almost rescue them, and in return, once the sailors fall into the water, they literally gnaw the dude apart, much like piranha fish would.
Wow,
That's not good.
that's not good.
That's not good. It's not all Ariel and Disney under the sea, believe you me. Watch out for them damn mermaids.
It's all fun and games till the screaming starts.
You got that right. We got about 2.5 minutes to go here with you tonight, and I'm curious: is there a topic we haven't hit that you would like to?
Not that comes to mind immediately.
I just wanted to make sure. Let's go to this. What about caves and cave systems? Do you think they're all connected? Do you think they all have aliens or Bigfoot in them?
A lot of people believe that there's a lot more interconnectivity than one might have you believe. Not only natural caverns, but also uh, man-made caverns and tunnels excavated by the military.
So, in other words, what you're saying is, if you find a cave, don't go in it.
That sounds like good advice.
Oh yeah, I do have to ask you this one before we say goodnight to you, my man, and that is about Elvis and how many different Elvis sightings are around. I mean, look, in the '80s, it was a big hot to trot story, and into the '90s that Elvis was still alive, that he never died in Graceland in 1976. But you've got one story where you continually report on different Elvis sightings.
One of the best ones, the one that has photographic evidence, film evidence, is when Elvis supposedly, and you can see it for yourself, Elvis supposedly appeared as an extra in the movie Home Alone, the first one. And it's the scene is where the mother they decide the mother is going to go back alone because they discovered they left their kid home alone, and she's at the airport, and over her left shoulder, in the background, there he is. It's amazing.
Oh, all of us are going to go on YouTube and try and find that now.
It's the airport ticket counter scene.
Now I got to look. No. Okay, that I'm watching this right now, and that's where she's flipping out, trying to get a flight back to
Right.
Chicago. And
Right.
the guy's saying, "Well, we can't." I mean, is it Elvis? I don't know. How tall was Elvis?
He
Is
gets a
this
good amount of screen time too. He gets a good 1 or 2 minutes of screen time. He's on film a lot in that scene.
Oh, that is weird. That is weird. And you think that's him?
It sure looks like him.
Well, I mean, when was Home Alone made? 1988?
Is that right?
Somewhere around there? But I don't know. The mystery continues. Bill Madon, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Been an absolute pleasure to have you. Coming up next, we're going to head to the swamp. Then Super Duke's here. And then it's the Dave 101. Packed third hour next on Spaced Out Radio. Great job, Bill. Great
Thanks,
job.
Dave. You too.
Get some claps here.
Golf
Great
clap.
show. Appreciate you doing it, my man.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And continued success to your channel and good luck with what you're doing.
And you as well. Okay, if I use some clips from this on my show?
Yeah, go right ahead, man.
Sweet.
Go right ahead.
Thank you.
Anytime, buddy. I appreciate you asking. All right, my man. We will let you go. You take care. And we'll chat with you soon.
Thank you, Dave. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bill Madon, everyone. Night Terrors YouTube channel. Make sure you go hit subscribe on that. And Super Duke is next. And he's got his hair down. Looking fine. And I'll be right back. So you guys just stay tuned in. We'll be right back. Hi, guys. Frost Kitten. Hello, chair. Let's go like this. Oh, hey, Clam. How you doing? JSCO, how you doing? Welcome. Who else has joined us here? Let's take a look. Sweet Tony D, good morning to you in the UK. D Swagger. What's happening, everyone? YJ, how much snow do you got? It's snowing like anything here. Super Duke. Coming on up here soon. Want to say thank you to Cat Chaser, Jeff, Jeremy, Judy, and T2E for the amazing super chats tonight. Very much appreciate it. And remember, you can do some shopping on our website, spacedoutradio.com. We got great swag there for you. And Vegas, May 19th to 21st, 2023. Come meet up with us in Las Vegas at the Golden Nugget for a weekend of fan party. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. How you all doing tonight? We very much appreciate you all tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fascinoris. Fascinoris is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where we head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. My mom has worked at a small, rural hospital for about 6 years. She is the ER receptionist. She is the first person you see when you come into the emergency room, the one that will give you all the paperwork to fill out and such. Throughout the years that she has worked there, she primarily has worked nights, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and has seen quite the cast of characters the town has to offer. Every transient, druggie, and local has passed through that lobby at some point, and she has seen each of them at least twice. But one night she encountered something she had never seen before. My mom was quick to get the hang of things in the first year, so she was left alone to work the counter. The ER faced the parking lot, so she could see people coming in far, far away, and anticipated their moves. One night at about 2 a.m., she was working on her computer, looked up, and was surprised to see two people standing there. A man and a woman were just standing there, staring at her, and she stared back. The parking lot was dark, no car in sight, and they just appeared. After a long moment, they entered the lobby and went up to the desk. My mom said the alarm bell started going off in her head, and something was just not right. For one thing, they were very tall. The desk my mom sat at was easily mid-chest to an average person. With these people, my mom could see the woman's pelvic bone. They were dressed for hot summer weather because it was the summer. They were also very skinny, and my mom emphasized this. They were very dry looking, but they didn't look like your typical druggies. The woman stroked her neck with long fingers, saying she had a sore throat. My mom didn't say a word for the first and only time. She just looked at them. A phrase kept repeating in her head. Strigoi. As my mom looked at them, the woman looked at the man, then looked back at my mom, then to the man again, the whole time just smiling and stroking her throat, and said to the man, "Do you think she will let us through, or should we go somewhere else?" My mom stayed silent as the woman repeated the pattern of looks. They both smiled at my mom and left. Almost immediately after, my mom texted me asking if vampires needed permission to enter places like hospitals. I told her that since she was technically the person to say who went back to the ER, they would need her permission. We both knew that Strigoi was a type of Romanian vampire myth that normally we thought wouldn't be really, true. But she kept hearing that phrase in her mind. She has never seen that couple again, and we still talk about what happened every so often. It does make me wonder when I hear about stories of black-eyed children and other tales of vampires. What did she see that night? And how close was she to something unreal?
And that's why we love the Swamp Dweller around here, telling us spooky stories all night long. He joins us to kick off the third hour of each show, Monday through Friday night. You can listen to thousands of his stories for free by just going to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. We really appreciate the Swamp Dweller coming on in on a nightly basis. All right. It is time once again to head over to Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. He's got his cape on tonight for the Cryptid Report. All right, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio comes on in a couple times a week to break down some weird and strange cryptid stories from around the world. And Duke, it's always a pleasure to have you here, my man. How are you doing?
Doing great. Glad to be back. Been enjoying the show a little bit earlier, watching Bill on there and you guys doing the back and forth on different topics. And for people out there that are unaware of this is like Bill's second interview ever. And his first interview was on my show. So I know exactly what you just went through, Dave. And you have every bit of credit due.
You know what? I love his channel. I love his channel. Yep. And, coming on a show like this, if you've never done it before, it is hard. And for a lot of people, it's intimidating. And, it's, I thought he did well. And I'm very glad.
He did very well. I mean, if you want to see when he was on my show, he was very uncomfortable looking. And the only reason that it worked is because I have seen every bit of content that he put out, and I just kept referencing an old video, and he'd say something about it, and then I'd plop the old video in there. So it totally worked.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Great guy. Great guy. Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice shirt and tie combination as well.
He also does some really, I don't pay that much attention to armchair researchers or anything usually, but he does really great research. When he gets interested in the subject, he digs up stuff that like the experts on the topic may not know about. So he's very thorough, and that's one of the things that makes his channel so interesting. I
agree with you. Everybody should subscribe to it. It's a good channel there at Night Terror's YouTube channel for sure. I gotta say, man, you're in the mountains of Montana. You got snow yet up there?
We got a little bit yesterday when I was biking over to the store and back, but of course it melted off right away. The mountains have got snow on them now, almost down to the level of the valley. So, pretty soon we're going to have it down here too.
We are getting hit with 10 to 20 centimeters of snow, and it's supposed to continue. Now, usually we get a break. Usually this melts. I don't think this one's melting, Duke. I think the snow that I see today will be in my yard come April.
Yeah. Well, as me and Robin were mentioning, the Sasquatch are telling us it's going to be a crappier than usual winter. So I think that's what we're looking forward to here. It seems like it's probably going to happen.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What do you got for us tonight? Because we only have you on the shortened version till the bottom of the hour here in about
Right.
14.
Well, of course, here in my mighty command center at the top of the Rocky Mountains, in World Bigfoot Central, I have a mighty library that I can dig through. And I was just wandering past my control room the other day, and I was looking at the one library section, and I went, for some reason, this book by Ivan T. Sanderson drew my attention. Ivan T. Sanderson, for those of you out there unaware of it, is pretty much the father of cryptozoology, especially for North America. Bernard Heuvelmans was also around at the same time, and over in Europe has probably got the claim to being the father of cryptozoology over in that part of the world, because they both really did a lot of in-depth research. And Ivan T. Sanderson was actually in military intelligence during World War II. So he was all over the place. And he had this interest in this stuff and was taking advantage of where he was at to do a little side digging whenever he was there. And then after the war was over, he had a lot more access to other parts of the world that formerly were busy fighting that he could go to and do more research there. So this guy like literally went all over the world. And he wrote this ridiculously thick book, The Abominable Snowman Legend Come to Life. And this part, he's specifically talking about the abominable snowmen. That is what we in the West know as the Yeti, and the sightings from the greater Himalayas and what the people over there are talking about. And the in-depth information here, which rarely penetrates to the West, is very revealing. He says the great majority of reports are of a roughly man-sized, though of a very large and sturdy man compared to the wiry little Sherpas, hominid with a conical head, bull neck, prognathous jaw, and very wide mouth, but no lips. Clothed in reddish brown, keep that in mind. Everybody's always like, yeah, these are white. No, descriptions say reddish brown. Thick, short, hairy, or fur, often grizzled in larger specimens and almost black in the smaller ones, which they go naked, but use sticks as tools on occasion. Its excrement indicates that it's omnivorous, but feeds mostly on small mammals, insects, young birds that it can catch, snails, and various softer vegetable substances. It lives in the upper montane forests. Again, it's not in the mountains, it's in the upper montane forest, but comes out from time to time to grub under old snow. And in very severe weather, it may descend into inhabited valleys and maraud for food. It has short, very broad feet with a second toe larger than its big toe, while both of these are much wider than the other three and are separated from them. It is shy and retiring unless provoked or imagines itself cornered, when it will put up a terrific display just like the great apes will, but seldom carries through with its threats. This is not just the pattern, but the identity of the vast body of these reports. However, it's not by any means the only one. There appear to be at least 4, if not 5, quite distinct creatures involved in this general area, only 2 of which are certainly indigenous to the Himalayan ranges themselves and to the great Brahmaputra gutter north of it. These 2 are the man-sized hominids described above, which is clearly distinguished by the little inhabitants of the Mete and the little pygmy type, only 4 to 5 feet tall, that inhabits the lower and warmer valleys, said to eat frogs and insects, and generally omnivorous, but which the natives call the Ted Lima, which is clothed in very thick red fur with a slate mane and leaves tiny 5-inch long footprints. The third hominid appears to only be spoken of in the area, but is actually an inhabitant of eastern Tibet, Xinjiang, and northern Indo-Chinese Massif. This is the Talk Kunglu Jinsung creature called by the Sherpas the Jute, which translates to the hulking thing. So guess which one we're talking about there. Hold on.
Now, I
that
know,
would be the one that I mentioned a few cryptid reports ago, where I was talking about the Indian Army climbing on the
yes.
slopes of Makalu and finding the 32 by 17-inch tracks. That's
Yeah.
the one we're talking about there, the Zute hulking
Now,
thing.
is that the one, if I'm correct, Duke, that they found prints at base camp on Mount Everest, and the big toe seems to be like a giant round circle, and then you have the other 4 toes that would be pretty much parallel to a foot.
Yeah, similar. It seemed to be wider than you would expect from either a Sasquatch or a human foot. And
Yeah.
also, like Ivan just pointed out, the arrangement of the toes a little bit bigger because the second toe is bigger than the big toe, the hallux is, and the toe adjacent to it is also large. And then the remaining toes are kind of like grouped by themselves over on one side. So it gives this aspect that it's actually got 3 toes when the toes are just bunched up.
Right. Creepy.
So anyway, back to the gigantic ones here. The hulking thing is, by all accounts, an immensely taller and bulkier than the Mete, with a black to dark gray shaggy and long coat, a flat head, beetling brow, with a sort of upcurled bang on it. And this is reported on some of the younger Sasquatch up by your area and over in Idaho too, by the way, Dave, that hair. Very human type feet that leave imprints like those of a giant man, about with 2 subdigital pads under the first toe, just like the Sasquatch in Omaha. This is the creature that Bernard Hubelmans in 1951 suggested might be a descendant of, or related to, or even actually a Gigantopithecus, which at that time was thought to be a pongid rather than a hominid. Well, they've switched back to thinking it's a pongid again. Sorry, Ivan. This book was written when I was a kid, back when knights were still jousting. So then he goes on to the little tit Oma presents a fine problem all their own. They're the least known and most neglected by everybody. In fact, it was not really until 1957 that even the most ardent hominid hunters acknowledged their existence, and only one man has done anything to research them. W.M. Russell, commonly known to his countless friends all over the world as Gerald. Yet this is probably the commonest of all the hominids, with an enormous distribution, and is certainly, quote, the Yeti most likely to succeed, unquote, if only somebody would do something to research it. And then he goes into the philology of the different words and what they exactly mean, which I will not bore you with. And then he has sightings by Sherpa villagers talking about things that they have observed them eating or found in their scat. Then he gets back to the hulking thing, the Zute. It's not a Himalayan inhabitant. However, there does appear to be still another creature in this province and on the southern rim of Tibet. Now, there seems to be some evidence pointing to this really being a giant monkey. I'm for now ignoring the tailed creatures reported by Doctors Moore and Brooks, which would constitute a 5th local unknown, and which I frankly believe to be a huge species of the coluboid monkey, and thus related to the mangabes and griseras of Africa and the Langer's leaf monkeys, lutongs, prosasis, and snub-nosed monkeys of the Orient. The Abbé Pierre Bourdet has dredged up a tiny gem that's of great significance to the monkey problem, namely the mountain massif that contains Mount Everest is called by Indians Mahalangur Himal, or Mountain of the Great Monkeys, and not of great apes, please note. Then there's also the fact that Tibetans, as opposed to the Himalayanese people, talk freely of a monstrous monkey in their territory that has nothing to do with either the Zute, Mete, or Terliman, which incidentally they call in various parts of their country by numerous other names. So it's not just around there. It is, they say, nothing more than a monkey, and has all the habits and characteristics of a monkey, even to the sort of, and here's where it gets interesting, totalitarian bravado and insufferable provocativeness combined with blind cowardice that in extreme cases of defeat may lead to it turning into a completely insensate homicidal maniac. There is but one group of monkeys that so very well fits this billing. To me, it is very strange indeed that neither this whole idea nor the possibility of this particular group of monkeys being involved seems ever to have been even so much as mentioned. The group concerned is the cynocephaloids, or cynocephalidae, the dog-faced monkeys, which includes the gelada and hamadryad, the drill and the mandrill, the baboons, the black apes of the celebes, macaques, and rhesuses. Not only are the largest monkeys members of this group, they are mostly terrestrial. Most of them walk on the whole soles of their feet and hands. They have extremely man-like hands. They are certainly of high sagacity, and despite small brains, have a highly developed social, or at least communal system. They're also strongly xenophobic. And finally, they are in many cases extraordinarily ingenious, facile, and adept at manipulation with their hands, just like we are. The ancient Egyptians trained some of them to weed gardens, stack cordwood, sweep temples, and serve food at banquets. A South African railroader supposedly taught one to throw switches.
Well, you seem to freeze up on us there, Duke. Not sure if you can hear us or not, but you've froze up on us. Send you out. See if we can add him back in. Super Duke, by the way, I guarantee you is still reading right now. He is still reading. Definitely still reading. He hasn't noticed yet that he's off air. But nonetheless, I mean, some of these stories, I mean, I remember talking to Nelson Dellis, who has attempted to climb Mount Everest 4 times and failed 4 times to do so. And he actually, on one of his last trips there, went to see and learn about the abominable snowman or the Yeti, because there had been prints years ago, photograph prints actually, that were taken at Mount Everest Base Camp. And nobody heard a thing. Nobody saw anything. But there were just these giant 20-foot tracks or 20-inch tracks. All right, Super Duke, you froze up on us. We got about 3 minutes to go here, buddy.
Yeah, lost my stream completely. I don't know what happened there. All of a sudden, I wasn't on the internet anymore.
We were wondering what it would take.
Well, anyway, that was pretty much the end of that whole thing. The only point on that thing is that, again, we think of there only being one thing that's known as the Yeti. And in fact, they've got 4, maybe 5 subvarieties that all have distinct names. Some of them are known in the Himalayas, but don't actually live there. They live in the jungles nearby to it. And, you know, that could be an example of the Jute, could be the tracks that the Indian Army got when they were climbing up Makalu, because right below where that snow line was, where they were going up, and they found the tracks traversing it horizontally. It wasn't going up, it was just going across. They were going up, so they crossed the track line. Right below that is a Makalu nature preserve, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of acres, and really no way to get there. So it isn't like people are just touristing there and going for a walk around the nature reserve. So again, nobody even knows what the hell might be living in there, because nobody's doing any research on it. But the point that I found interesting is that in addition to these 2 or 3 different kinds of hominids similar to Bigfoot, but which, by the way, closely parallel the reports we're getting over here in North America, they also had this other kind that was like, what? A baboon, which is, what do we got over here? A gugwi, which is like a giant baboon. Same thing.
Well, it always comes down to pretty much the same shape, the same foot size, the same body musculature.
Mm-hmm. With minor variations. And again, you know, you keep getting this pattern that there's not just one kind of them. Wherever any of them are around, there's these other sub-varieties seem to be somewhere around there too, if not right in the same proximity, but, you know, maybe in the same area. You know, we've got the shorter hominids over here in North America, albatwitches, stuff like that. We've got the gugwis, those would be the baboon type things. We've got the jute, those are the Pacific Coast Sasquatch that get, you know, 15, 18 feet tall. They're humongous, Northern Canadian type. So we've got all these parallels over here. And even in Europe, you've got names for these guys where they call it De Wildermann or the Woodwoes and, you know, all of that sort of stuff. And in Europe, there's a name for the gugwi over there too. They call them bugbears. So this stuff is like universal. It isn't just this one little pocket area where some crazy drunken hicks came up with a story. It's all over the planet. You just go look at the indigenous cultures' stories about what's in their area, and it keeps coming up over and over again.
Super Duke, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio for the Cryptid Report again. Everybody could go search all over the internet for World Bigfoot Radio or World Bigfoot Central on all social media platforms. That's why we love Super Duke around here. It's number 1 on his uniform and number one in our hearts. Coming up next, Date 101 time. The congressional report hasn't been released yet. Go figure. We'll be back. All right. I'm clear.
Cool. I'm looking forward to the Dave 101, man. Get off my lawn!
Get off my lawn, you stinky rat hole!
You gugwies, get off my lawn!
You horrible kids in their grotesque Halloween costumes!
Oh, you're having Wendigo weather up there. That's when the Wendigo like to hunt, when there's a whiteout. Nothing can see him or hear him coming.
Yeah, that's all I need is a freaking Wendigo hanging out in my Sasquatch area.
Well, it could be that they just say that to keep the kids in the teepees during a blizzard and a whiteout, so they don't go wandering outside, never to be seen again. Or it could be that that's actually true, and that's an additional hazard to wandering around in a whiteout where you get lost and are never found again.
Yeah. Although I'm going to try and get out in the forest on Saturday
Right
night.
on. Yeah, you haven't been out there and visited for a couple of weeks now, right?
No, I've been really worried about, because of stuff going on with my mom and everything.
Yeah.
And found out, my dad it finally hit my dad pretty hard today. And I think he hit the realization that there's a good chance that whether she lives or passes, that mom's not coming home. It's a very, very big uphill battle. So he's got to sign a bunch of paperwork to get her into a rehabilitation home and try and get her moving and doing things on her own. But the old girl, I just don't know if she wants to, man.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened with my mom. She was so crippled she couldn't walk or anything anymore. I had to push her on the wheelchair, get her in and out of bed, onto and off of the toilet and all that good stuff. And she had health was getting really bad, and she had been in the hospital a couple times, and both times they had to resuscitate her. And when she came back the last time, she just said, Chuck, which is my dad's name, just tell him that the next time that I go out, don't resuscitate me, because this, I don't want to keep living like this. So, and it was a couple days later, and she was in the hospital, and I got the call at 4:00 in the morning that she had died, and I had got to wake my dad up and give him not very good news. So,
yeah. I don't know. Love's asking, where does mom want to be? I think that mom wants to head on home. And I'm not saying home to where my dad is. My mom, she has her faith, and I think that's where she wants to go. I think she's tired and doesn't want to fight anymore. So, not to, bring the show attitude down. Hey, Von Patrick, how you doing, buddy? Not to bring the mood of the show down or anything, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks here.
I noticed our buddy in chat there that lives on the other side of the pie plate from us, Hilton Whittlewood, was asking earlier that he hadn't seen your hair cut off before. And he wondered if you lost your Samson-like super strength when it got cut off, which, of course, the answer is yes. Why do you think he's in the gym working out all the time? He's trying to get his super strength back again.
I had a great workout today.
There you go. See?
Yeah, great workout. And it was one of those ones that when you finish up and you finally can relax after your cool down, where you feel like you're just gonna puke your guts out.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah, that was the workout I had today. My arms, honestly, tonight feel like Jello.
I made the mistake when my brother came back from boot camp. I went in and did heavy leg training day with him, And he's freshly back from many months of training as a Marine sniper, so he's in ridiculous shape. But of course, I'm also in pretty ridiculous shape at that point. So we go in and we do the heavy squats and the weight rack and the whole thing. And we were both pathetic, shabbling wrecks for the next 2 days. We had spaghetti legs so bad you could hardly stand up and walk around because we had beat up our legs so bad. And yeah, then I didn't do that with Paul again because no.
Oh. Today was I have to really watch what I work out with, especially on my legs, because I've blown both the ACLs and MCLs in my knees, and so I have to be careful with that. But today I did some squats, and God, it hurt. Thank you, Cat Chaser, Jeff, Jeremy, Judy, T2E, and Molly for the super chats. Here we go with the Dave 101 Super Duke.
I'm gonna go, buddy. Take care.
We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where I figure out what grinds my gears. Around these parts, we call it the Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
Halloween night is supposed to be special this year for two reasons. Number one, we got to see all the ghouls and goblins and the children from young to old go out trick-or-treating and have just a joyous time around our neighborhoods where we as parents scuttle around trying to keep our hands warm and our feet warm during the cold fall night where the veil is the thinnest on All Hallows Eve. Yes, that is what it is supposed to be about. But this year, Halloween was also supposed to be about one other specific topic. You see, we were supposed to get another congressional report on UFOs. But guess what didn't happen on All Hallows Eve? Well, we know the kids went trick-or-treating, but we now know that up until right now, the congressional hearings and the release of new information on unidentified aerial phenomena is still waiting to come out. Now, none of us should be surprised by this. This isn't really breaking news because the government is always slow on everything. But here's the frustrating part, guys. We know it's going to happen. We know they're playing games with us. And for anybody out there who says that there isn't a narrative going on or that there isn't any games being played with what the public should know about the topic of UFOs and life out in the stars, you got to give your head a shake. Or, maybe go buy that bridge in the middle of the desert, because I hear there's really good prices on bridges in the desert right now. It is frustrating because, once again, the United States government, along with its military and alphabet agencies, are playing with people's lives. They're playing with people who've seen UFOs. They're playing with the lives of experiencers. And the worst part about it is, if this was any other topic than UFOs, the media would be covering it. the media would be having an absolute breakdown as to why this subject hasn't been announced yet. And look, these new congressional hearings or reports, we know they are going to be edited to anything. We do know a little bit. We know that there have been over 360 reports, and half of them were found to be anomalous. But that's all we've been told that's allegedly coming out. We don't know if there's going to be more fighter pilot testimony. We don't know if there's going to be airline pilot testimony, astronaut testimony, or testimony from anybody else. We hear speculation that there will be new congressional hearings on the subject coming up any day now for the last 2 months, any day. And if they do end up coming up, who's going to testify? Who's going to be there? Notoriously, the government is just quiet on this. They're doing their own thing. They don't care because there's no media to press them. There's nobody outside of the UFO world to say, hey, guys, where's that report? Why is it late? Because it was supposed to be out on Halloween. Now, what burns my bridges on this one is the fact that there are so many people involved with this now. From NASA to the CIA, from the FBI to the United States Navy. But the real question that we have to prepare ourselves for is, are we prepared for nothing new? Don't expect any videos. Don't expect anything that is going to move the ball forward. When the Navy announced a couple weeks ago that they were done with UFOs and talking about them in public, look, guys, they handcuffed us. They really did. And it's not fair. It's not to our advantage. But they did it because they're tired of having egg on their faces. They're tired of the United States Air Force getting to stay silent, while in Space Force, they are hiring people who are directly involved in ufology. Yes, I'm talking to you, Travis Taylor, talking to you, Lou Elizondo, to talk about UFOs specifically for the Space Force and Space Command. This goes way deeper. And what it makes me wonder, as someone who's involved with this on a daily basis, is what is the latest thing they are trying to cover up? What's the cover up now? Is it about landings? Is it about crash retrievals? Maybe. I would take it a step forward. I think, and this is my opinion only, that it has to do with the fact that they got aliens. Yeah, they have aliens. And they don't want it. Look, I have no proof. Zero proof. It's just a hunch. And I'm running with it. I'm running with that hunch because it seems like a healthy hunch to place a bet on. And if I was in Vegas, I would absolutely put money on it. They don't want us playing UFOs anymore. They don't want us playing anything. What they want is the science and technology behind it. UFOs, people, are turning into a business. The business of UFOs includes reverse technology, enhancements of engineering, trying to figure out free energy, if there is such a thing, or how to monetize free energy. Go figure what an oxymoron that is. But the idea behind it is they don't want us to know. Why not? After why now? Why not? What does a politician need to know, or a military member know, that you and I, as regular Joe and Jill citizen, are not allowed to know? We can think of the possibilities that we're not alone, that maybe time travel is real, that maybe other dimensions are real. We can look at all that. However, why do they feel that we continually need to be ridiculed about this subject, talked down to regarding this subject. And what amazes me is all of these so-called UFO activists that are out there who continually bang the drum for anything that these guys are doing in DC. They're not here to help you or me or disclose anything. That's the facade. The real picture is what we need to know. And yes, like I've said before in the past, this goes from Roswell on forward, not the USS Nimitz incident on forward. Let me go back in time to around when the To the Stars Academy came out and got popular. I said a statement like this. I said, there is no such thing as disclosure until we know what's happened from Roswell on forward. And I'm sticking to that gun today. We deserve to know. We have a right as humanity to know. Are we alone in the universe? Are we allowed to know what's going on in the universe? Think about it. Our star being friends could be right on our doorstep, and we're not allowed to know. It's like your neighbor coming over. You just moved into your house. Your neighbor comes over with a freshly baked apple pie to welcome you to the neighborhood, and you're not allowed to answer the door because other people are. Remember, I have said this many a time. There are very few people making decisions for 7.5 billion on this planet. That's it. That's it. And it hurts me to think, where is this going in the future? It pains me to think, how much more of the cover-up are your children, my children, our future grandchildren are going to have to suffer through? When we're dismissing accounts in the Ukraine, we have people say they're working in our best interest in ufology, only to be working for the same people who are covering up the subject. Does that not make this entire thing a bloody joke? We should be laughing right now that the report hasn't come out. We should be. We should be like, do we really expect any less? This is how we're treated. This is the way it's always gone. And this is the way that it will continue. So the question is, where do we go now, ufology? Where do we go now? Well, since we know the cover-up is on, my suggestion is we start ignoring all the people. Start ignoring all the news of it. Start ignoring all the sightings. I don't care about you guys, but for me, when I see breaking news reports that an airline pilot witnessed a number of UFOs, and trust me, Christopher Sharp at Liberation Times did an amazing job on that article because he's a high-quality journalist, a real journalist, not fake ones that continue to hover around the UFO field. Okay? But Chris digs in, and he's got a great story at Liberation Times about an airline pilot that saw 9 UFOs hovering together. For me, I'm like, big deal. Why does it have to be confirmed by an airline pilot or a fighter pilot? What about all of us who have seen UFOs? Do our accounts not count? A sighting means nothing anymore. A video means anything is even less, unless it's a video that has a certain watermark on it that says U.S. Department of Defense or United States Navy or property of the United States government. Then we're allowed to get a little bit excited. then we're allowed to kind of put our fingers from crossed to uncrossed, hoping that we might be able to get an answer. But we're not. I don't know when this report is going to come out. I don't know if it's even going to come out publicly. But once again, we're hearing a lot of big words coming out of D.C. and not a lot of action. One day, hopefully, that changes. I don't ever see it being changed. Yes, the report will eventually come out. But I think we need to look at this as a real level of disrespect that they don't care about UFOs. They don't care about you and I. The only thing that they care about is, will the military be able to defend against whatever the hell these are? That's it. And they will hold the technology like it's their brand new baby, cuddling it, holding it tightly, and making sure that nothing ever hurts that. That's your Dave 101 tonight. Thank you for everybody tuning that in. And if you have a comment on our YouTube channel about it, please leave it below. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, as well, as it really helps with the algorithms. But we appreciate you taking it on in. Now, let's get to Shirky Poo's news.
What time is it?
It's time for Shirky Poo's news!
All right, let's get to Shirky Poo's news, shall we? All right, a woman in the United Kingdom has reportedly called for a Halloween decoration ban. Oh, she's gone total Karen on this. Yeah, she's offended. Why? After she claimed a recent bathroom trip left her confused about the toilet's working order. The woman, whose identity hasn't been revealed, apparently aired her grievance to the Nextdoor, a hyper-local social media platform for neighbors, according to the report from My London, a British newspaper. My London reports that the bathroom the woman visited at a local business had a keep out sign on its toilet. I think, Karen says, that Halloween decorations should be banned. 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 Why? I ended up leaving this establishment because I got confused as to if these toilets were out of service and no entry. How are people expected to be able to know what is open and closed when there are big keep out signs on everything? The Post reportedly continued. Warning signs are common on Halloween decorations sold by party supply companies. However, not all countries celebrate Halloween the same. The day has been gaining popularity in the UK in recent years, and the decorating of homes and businesses has become a growing trend. In Britain, Halloween has traditionally been celebrated with ghost stories, vegetable carvings, and kid-friendly games, including bobbing for apples, according to Historic UK, a British history and heritage site. The current use of pumpkins is a relatively modern innovation coming from the Americas. Hey, we gave them back one. But this lady, yeah, she ain't giving up. Old Karen there, she wants somebody to take responsibility for her not figuring out whether or not a bathroom is closed. Hey, Karen, real interesting point here. If it's on the door inside the establishment, it probably says keep out for a reason. It's very easy. If it's outside in someone's yard, probably a Halloween decoration. But who am I? Who am I? And Karen ain't going to listen anyways. A Baltimore family who ordered a prop casket for a Halloween party found a dead woman's belongings inside, including what they suspected were her ashes. The Wozniak family said they had ordered a casket from Facebook Marketplace. After the discovery, family took to TikTok, of course, because you don't call the police anymore. You call TikTok. Well, you film on TikTok. To share the bizarre episode in hopes of returning the items to the deceased woman's family. Other items found taped underneath the cardboard of the casket, including the crew's photograph, her death certificate, which had her social security number, and the George Washington University Hospital bracelet she wore. The deceased woman's family, her granddaughter, eventually came across the Wozniak's TikTok video, showed her mom Sabrina Jones. Sabrina went on to say the discovery reignited the pain of losing her mother, but was grateful that the Wozniaks kept the items and returned them to the family. Crew's family said they had rented the casket through the Freeman funeral services after she was cremated after. Well, apparently Mom stuck around a little bit more. Yeah. All right, let's get to another one here. A Texas woman made a spooky discovery about her home rental in Gainesville after several renters claimed it was haunted. Linda Hill, owner of the Hill House Manor, said she was taking a shower when she heard someone say, "Looking good." I thought it was my husband. I mean, he and I were the only ones in the house. However, it was not her husband making the comments. It was a ghost. I spoke to him. He told me I was looking good. I said, thank you. And I asked him what he had been doing that day. And we had a conversation and he left. She added that she believes the home has many types of ghosts. We've got kids and we've got old people, old guys. We've got hookers, Jesse says. Yeah, the common type of ghost that comes around are hookers, Hill claimed. Male renters she said, have told her that they have felt somebody stroking their face, stroking their arm, and stroking other things. Host Jesse Walters quipped that it's a good thing about a hooker ghost was that you do not have to pay for it. That's right. They try and stir it up business, but they can't figure out a way to conclude the transaction, so nothing ever happens. And finally tonight, the enduring mystery of Yeti could once be solved once and for all once again. The Yeti, sometimes known as the abominable snowman, has said to be living in the Himalayan mountains. Like most cryptids, irrefutable proof hasn't been exactly forthcoming. However, an expert now reckons he knows exactly what's behind the mystery. Madhu Chetri, a researcher with Nepal's National Trust for Nature Conservation, said he was warned about the Yeti by locals. He said, I've heard several stories about an encounter between a Yeti and village's herdsmen. One herder described how they walk like humans but are double the size. One said he encountered two of them, and one was digging for a marmot while the other was lying in a dorsal posture with one leg folded behind like a human, like a sun tanning. Well, he's not convinced it's around, thinks it's a Tibetan bear, but nonetheless, the search continues for the mysterious Yeti. Absolutely awesome show tonight. And we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for tuning us in tonight. It's been a great night of fun because together, my friends,
We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home.
I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Woohoo! Super Duke, Super Duke. Good show. High quality entertainment from Spaced Out Radio once again. Doug Shelby is leaving. The Doug Shelby is leaving. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, hold on. Let's put the old editing machine up here first. The old editing machine. Hot darn editing machines. All this technology driving me bonkers. Ain't that right, Super Duke? You know, Duke, when I first meet you, I'm going to yell out real loud, 3 cheers for Super Duke. Hip, hip, hooray. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, Duke. Or maybe I'll give the Commonwealth version. Hip, hip, hoorah. Hip, hip, hoorah. Hip, hip, hoorah. No? No. 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 No, we're not doing that. It was Kelso. Red Fender, y'all? Who plays the piano of the SOR community? We leave that to Grantavius Maximus. He gives a good hip hip hoorah. Thank you, Aiden. Very much appreciate you, man. Way too kind of words. In the old days, it was huzzar, huzzar, huzzar. That's right. Thank you, Tony, my fellow Commonwealther. Oh, where are we going here? Probably right there. Mm-hmm. Terry Hall, listening in from Bernal. Hey, that worked. Terry Hall, Terry Hall. And all things supernatural here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Stay tuned. Brought my cactuses in. I have 2 cacti. Brought them in. Poor things had snow and ice on top of them. I think they'll survive, though, because we've had them for a couple of years. Got them in the heat, sitting right by the window. I think we're going to be okay. To sing the Hall, Terry Hall, driving away around Vernal. If you notice, the Super Duke and Terry Hall are on the same tone. Terry Hall, Terry Hall. That's all garbage right there. Yeah, cut that. Cut out that noise. Nice job, Dave. Nice job. Mr. Cowley. Dun, dun, dun. Welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley. Dun, dun, dun. Loves his spaced out radio. Dun, dun. That's all I got. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's still coming. Tracy Scott, that's actually a very good question, whether or not extra large pea puddles. I have no idea. Steppenwolf, how are you? You born to be wild or what? Do we got your motor running? Are we heading down the highway? Or are we just looking for adventure and whatever comes our way, man? Good night, Julie of Call. I'll just cut it and find out. Go figure. We'll be back. I don't think the radio stations want me breathing in. So probably think they can get COVID over it. Okay, that's done finally. Save that. Big balls. We're going to have a big ball in Vegas. Because right now, when it comes to the paranormal, I've got the biggest balls of them all. My balls are always bouncy. My ballroom's always full. And everybody comes and comes again. Take it away, YJ. Terry Brown, what's happening, man?
Take care. Take care.
Greatest frontman ever is Freddie Mercury. Number 2, W. Axl Rose. Right on, Terry Brown. All right, I'm going to see what's on YouTube here for you. Nothing there yet. Sun just got rid of. Usually the sun is. Wow. That's a replay. What's in there? I think we may have a hippo here. We got a hippo at Rosie's Pan. Check this out. I never knew. Where'd the hippo come from? Oh, there's a giraffe. We got a giraffe running away now. So screw that. The hippo's going to shit in there. But we're going to do anything about it. Hippo's like, I am not. I'm not. Look at that camouflage son of a bitch. Look at the little nostrils. Hippos are so ugly, they're cute. All right, I'll be right back. How's our hippo doing? One sec here. I can't believe there's a hippo at Rosie's Pan. I really can't. Oh, that ain't what we want. Something just went weird here. 58 files added. That's wrong. How do we delete those? Folder. Upload. Desktop. There we go. Cancel. 1104. Nope, it's 1103. That was right. Never mind. He was overthinking. Do we know? Is it just the one hippo in here? Have we seen other hippos? Is it just the one? Because it looks like there could be two. Like one here. Definitely this one. Okay. Oh, maybe there's three. Okay, so we got this guy. Is that his ass there? This is the first time I've seen hippos in here. See, we got bubbles there. We got fart bubbles there. Bloop. I think there could be two or three in here. I don't know. Don't know. It's a tough call. Definitely something over here. or right here, and right here. There could be like 3 or 4 of them in there right now. I just don't know. We got that one. So is that his behind, or is that another one there? Hold on. I'm going to do this quickly here. What do we got going on? Oh, see, there is one down here. The hell is that? The hell is that? Oh, it's a turtle. Oh, look at that. Turtle's like, there's some big fucking hippo squatches in here. I want to know how many hippos are in there. Done there. All right. Nightmare, how you doing? On that note, we're not going to find out. We'll have to see tomorrow night if there is any more hippos there. Big thank you tonight to Donnie, Molly, T2E, Judy, Jeremy, Jeff, and Cat Chaser for the amazing super chats. Thank you so much for the love. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit a thumbs up, thumbs down, hit subscribe. We'd appreciate it. It really helps with our algorithms each and every night. And we'll see you all tomorrow with R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection as the conductor of the Woo Train brings us home into the first week of November. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, everyone. Much love. Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.